And so I'm like, durability, durability. So this is echoing in my head for a long time. Let's focus on durability. Like, let's just add fuel to that messaging fire. And so I was like, what is a universal symbol of heaviness? That's also something that would play well on camera. Elephants. Elephants. So I worked with so I worked with an assistant named Vicky, who was amazing. And I said, Vicky, I need you to help me find some elephants. And she's like, this is the strangest request I've ever had. But she did it. And there was a guy about an hour away that had these educational elephants. They used to be part of the circus, and circuses have shut down. And so they do like kids programming and things like this. I'm like, perfect. Can he bring them down? So I go up and meet the guy and check it all out. He says, sure, here's how much it is to hire an elephant. We set it up, and we were going to do it at Leggett & Platt's testing lab. And the guy that was running it at the time was like, no, we're not going to do that in case the elephants, release what elephants release all over the floor.
Yeah.
And so I ran it up the flagpole even further. And I was like, look, this is really important. Like, we need to have these elephants. And so I finally got the green light. So we get it all set up, and we have production crews, and we're going to make this video. The elephants do all kinds of fun stuff with Somnigel, stepping on it, and, just showing that it can be resilient even with all of this weight on top of it. And so the guy shows up to the Leggett & Platt testing center with this giant semi with the elephant in it. And he pulls me aside. He says, hey, I brought an extra elephant. I said, you can charge me any more? He said, no. And I'm like, 2 for the price of 1. He goes, well, the reason I brought her is because the other one will behave if the other elephant's here. And I was like, so there's a behavior issue if there's only 1 elephant, but you give me 2 elephants and everything's going to go fine? Well, he unloads them, and you're talking like there's not a harness for elephants. They just start walking into the building, trunk and tail, walking into the building, walking like hundreds of yards past all this machinery and innerspring making equipment and testing facilities up to this main area where we have the rollators and the Cornell machine and all the pressure mapping and testing and stuff like that. And here they are. And people are just lined up with cameras out. And some people called their kids from school. I didn't even know how many people actually worked there until I saw them just creating this like fan tunnel for the elephants that were coming in. And so they get in there, and they said, make sure you have some apples on hand. So I had somebody go to the store and get some apples ahead of time, a big bag, giant bag of apples. So they plow through that bag of apples in about 10 minutes. So I'm like, Susan, head to the store. We need more apples. So the elephants are in there, and he had told me ahead of time. He's like, yeah, once they start, doing their educational stuff, they're kind of like house trained. And I was like, okay, cool. This is going to be fine. But they still brought in a giant bucket and shovels and all this like sawdust. So about 30 minutes in, we're trying to get all these shots, and they were like standing on the Somnigel, and it was recovering, and it's all just going beautifully. And then the elephants just start taking elephant-sized dumps all over the place. And the guy that had the elephants, his girlfriend, she had these high heels on, and she's like running around, like jab stepping up to the back of this elephant with giant shovels, catching it as it's falling out and trying to put it in the bucket. I've got a mop bucket out, and I'm cleaning up the pee that's everywhere. And that was pretty much the extent of the day. And luckily the elephants, there are people standing behind the elephants, and they would break wind, and like it was the real deal. And then at one point I remember you had us like standing around in front of the elephants, and they make a sound that's almost like otherworldly, and it sounds just like a velociraptor from Jurassic Park. And there's a reason why, because they sampled it from an elephant, and it's this little like, and they start doing that, and I literally was running before my brain could say stop, you're safe. So the elephants gave us a day full of janitorial service practice and good times. And on the backside of it, we made this amazing video and all kinds of content around it, and created a campaign.
We all, again, jump in this cab to get to our meeting place. And unbeknownst to me, my cell phone, which none of us can live without, had fallen out of my purse. Didn't realize it. We get into the meeting. I'm looking for my phone. I can't find it. We didn't get a receipt from the cab, so we have no idea who it was.
Yeah.
And I start panicking. I'm calling my own number and just trying, hoping he'll answer. Nothing. So we're in New York for, I guess it was 2 days. That evening, little side note, was Halloween, and one of our cohorts talked the New York City police into allowing us to walk in the Halloween parade in Greenwich Village. So that was a little highlight.
Right.
But I still am without my phone. So we go through these meetings, dinners, whatever. We're on our way to the airport to leave. I borrowed my cohort's phone just to say, let me just get my messages. This is killing me. Dial the number, and somebody answered. I'm like, oh my gosh, you have my phone. And it was the cab driver. He said that he had 2 days off, so he didn't know that my phone was there, but he heard it. And he said, where are you? I'm like, well, where am I? I don't know where I am. I'm in a cab going to the airport. He goes, no, where are you? So I look out at the street corner, and I don't remember. It was like Lexington and let's say 27th Street. He's like, okay, I'll be there. Really? So I jumped out of the cab. Everybody leaves. They're on their way to the airport. They're like waving to me from the window, and I'm standing on the corner just thinking, is this the most ridiculous thing I've ever done? I don't know if this guy's going to show up. My team just left, and I'm standing with my suitcase on the street corner. Well, in New York City, about 5 minutes later, this cab comes screaming up. He's beeping his horn, waving my phone out the window.
No way.
Pulls up. I jump in. Not only does he have my phone, he drives me to the airport, and I got there on time. And so, it was unbelievable and humorous and restored my faith in humanity.
Yes. You know, I remember years ago, we were in Vegas for a convention, and I went and used the restroom at night. We had been all day, and then there's a big dinner thing, and then everybody was going out to we were taking everyone to a show. And I went to the bathroom, and I set my phone up on top of like the paper, like the toilet seat kind of thing. I set it up on top of there, and then whatever, I forgot it. Go back out, hanging out with everybody. We were having a drink. We were waiting. It's probably like 45 minutes or so goes by, and then we were all going to walk to the show, and I feel my pockets, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, I don't have my phone. Like this, oh no. And I'm just going through my head, like the bathroom. So we're on one side of this big casino, and I'm full sprint, as hard as I can across the whole entire casino. I'm full. I mean, everyone's looking because I'm in a full sprint. I run into the bathroom, and I get to the very end, and I hit the stall. Someone's in there. And so I knocked, and it's like, I'm busy, or yeah, someone's in here. And I'm waiting, and finally I was like, excuse me, is there a phone sitting up on the thing? It had been like 45 minutes. And he goes, yeah, sitting here. And so it was in there, but then he's like, just still going to the bathroom. And it was probably only like 30 seconds. But I swear, I felt like I waited like 5 minutes for him to get out. And it was really this whole awkward exchange, and then he just kind of walked by me, and I went in and grabbed it.
Right.
Relief of like, I cannot believe this thing is here,
Right. And again, we're so tethered to them that to be without it is, it's Panicville.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's like when I was in 4th grade, we went on a field trip to Marin Headlands it's in Northern California. And there's this thing up there, they have banana slugs. So,
Banana what?
Banana slugs. They're these big, long, yellow slugs. They're called banana slugs. And the myth is that if you kiss a banana slug, it's good luck. So this guy, who's like the camp counselor guy, and here's all these 4th graders, he finds this big banana slug, and he's like, okay, line up everyone. There's 30 people in line. Everyone's going to take a turn to kiss the banana slug. And I'm like, are you sure? He's like, oh yeah, it's great. You're going to have great luck. And I'm the front of the line. I'm like, oh God, but everyone's like excited about it. So I'm like, okay, so I go down, I kiss the banana slug, and I did not have good luck. In fact, it was the exact opposite, which was I took a step up to like step over the banana slug, and my foot slipped, came down, and then I smashed it and completely smashed the banana slug and killed it. And everyone was so mad at me. Girls were crying. People were yelling at me. I became the banana slug murderer for like my whole field trip.
So my very first meeting with the buyer, Mark Grant, who's a solid guy. So I'm now living in the area that I used to travel to, Northwest Arkansas. So I'm on the phone with him. And he's like, yeah, man, we got to do a product review. And I'm like, okay. And here's the new line. I'm sending these beds in. I don't want to screw this up, And so he said, yeah, we'll do it at the Holiday Inn. I'm like, no problem. You know, I had an assistant at the time, so I sent all this stuff to go. So we're there at 1 o'clock at the Holiday Inn. Everything's set up, the showroom, the beds, you know how it is. Everything's laid out. And he doesn't show, and he doesn't show. And my boss is there, and his name was Jeff Antile. And he's like, dude, like, where is this guy? I'm like, I don't know. So I'm calling. He calls me on my mobile and he says, hey man, I'm at the Holiday Inn. Where are you at? I go, you're at the Holiday Inn. I go, you're not at that Holiday. I said, I'm at the Holiday Inn. He goes, no, I'm at the Holiday Inn in Fayetteville. And I go, where are we? Like talking to the lady, like putting water in the room for us, you know. She's like, we're in Bentonville or something. Like wherever we were is not where we were supposed to be. So that guy had to hang up the phone. He's like, oh man, well, my appointment time, like I'm really busy today. I don't know if I can make it to you. And I'm like, oh my God, you've got to be kidding me. So anyway, he was cool about it and ended up showing up, and it was a great meeting. But I'm like, you are the biggest idiot. Like in my thinking though, right? Yeah. Fayetteville, Arkansas, this little hick town, how big could it be? How many Holiday Inns are they going to have, right?
I don't know. It did not make me smarter. And
okay, hit me with your Holiday Inn story.
So this is like maybe like 4 years ago, and I was at Living Space, and we were opening. It was when we opened the Austin store there, so Pflugerville. And this is right when they started opening these water parks around the country, the surf parks, you know, where they have the fake waves, you know, where you can surf. And obviously, you know, I'm a big surfer, and so I had never been to one of these wave pools before. So I'm out there for a whole week because we're doing a big, you know, opening week celebration and opening nights and all this kind of stuff at the Living Spaces. So I went and did it, and it was really fun. You know, I surfed this water park, and I was like, you know what, this would be so fun for someone to win. And I wanted to have a prize for Revive, which was the mattress department that I was overseeing, you know. And so basically I bought a card that was good for like 2 people, like a day at the surf park with lessons and the whole 9 yards. And then I was going to present it to the entire team with 110 people in that store on opening night. So I was going to say, whoever sells the most mattresses, basically the most money out of Revive over the 3-day grand opening, you're going to win this card. That was my big idea, right? And it looked just like a credit card, you know, and it had Wave Park on it or whatever. So I'm staying at the Holiday Inn, you know, I'm getting all ready, got my suit on for the big night or whatever. And I get the card, I make sure I get the card, I put it in my pocket. And so, you know, during my time, right before the grand opening, I had worked it out so I could go up and make this big announcement about this huge contest I'm doing for this all day thing. It's like a $400 pack or whatever. So I'm in front of everybody and I'm like, all right, guys, I tell them the whole thing. I'm doing this contest. And I'm like, in the winner, the winner is going to get this. And I pull out the card, right? But instead of putting my hand in my left pocket, I put it in my right pocket, and it was my Holiday Inn room key card. And someone goes, they're going to win the key card to your room, your hotel room. And dude, the place starts. I mean, dude, people are crying. They're laughing so hard. And I turned so red. And I'm like, oh, I'm like scrambling, looking for it. I'm like, no, it's this old. I couldn't even get out what it was because it was just, and that it still lives on today. It's this whole, anytime there was a contest for anything, it'd be like, oh, Brett's going to invite you to his room if you win. I was like, oh God, dude, it just never ended. So, and I've never stayed at a Holiday Inn since.